Okay, we're going to get started. Just the two of us. Somebody else said they were going to come. I don't know where the other people are. We're good. And we're recording too as well, just so you know. Have no idea how it's going to go. Never tried it before. As I said to you earlier, I don't have anybody here to help me. So there you go. The session today is called Interactive PowerPoint. And the concept is creating flexible and engaging presentations. And I wanted to do something that was a little different than what I maybe have done in the past, and I wanted to focus on how can you take a presentation which tends to be very sequential, very step by step, and make it a little bit more interactive, more flexible, so you can kind of go where the class needs to go, and make it more engaging with animation, with games, with all of these things. So that's what we're going to try to do today and take a look at. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about what good presenters do. So what is it that good presenters actually do? Well, one of the things that good presenters do is they actually practice. I have been teaching now in all levels for a long time. And one of the things I still do is before every presentation, I still, in my mind, will run through it just so that I'm like, okay, and you almost have to do it out loud, because if you don't do it out loud, you'll fool yourself in thinking you understand what you're doing. So I almost always practice my presentation. In fact, before I started today, I just mentally went through, while you were here actually, mentally went through and practiced the presentation just to make sure that I was doing what I needed to do. So good presenters practice. Good presenters have eye contact. Now some people are relatively shy, they don't like to look, but good presenters look people in the eye. Now I have had some people that are just, even professors, who just can't bring themselves to look. I actually had one professor that he didn't even look at us. He just wrote on the board like this the whole time, right? So that does happen. But if you can't look, the next best thing is to sort of just look up slightly above people. Like, that's not too bad. So I kind of look above you, above you, above you, and it's like, that's not so bad. Try to bring the eyes down as close as you can and look for that nodding head, because that's a good thing. Vary the voice. There's nothing worse than wah, 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 wah. You just try, even practice a little bit up and a little bit down. You're singing a song to your students, not to put them asleep, but simply to try to keep them interested, because there's one of the ways I actually put myself to sleep at night sometimes is I find somebody talking about a boring subject like a volcano erupting, and then they have a really monotone voice. I will put that on. 4 minutes, I'm done. Like the human mind kind of goes, this is boring, and they're out. So try as much as possible to vary your voice up and down, and make movement count. I had a professor at Acadia who did not make movement count. This professor simply moved. He moved one side, then he moved to the other side. He wasn't making his movement count. He was doing a lot of movement. It was literally a tennis match. To make it worse, actually, his tongue out like that, all the time. But literally, like, what? What are you doing? So if you're gonna move with purpose. Right? So if you're working with students or whatever, move to the back. How are we doing? I'm over here. How things are going? Good, okay, checking on you, like that. Make it count. Try not to just move for movement's sake. Wait for the audience to respond. So if you ask a question, wait. It may be uncomfortable, but wait. I always used to tell, I used to teach adults many, many years ago, and I would ask a question, they wouldn't respond, and I wouldn't say that here necessarily, but with those adults I would go, I cannot wait you. And I would simply stop. The level of uncomfort, somebody eventually would have to give an answer that they just couldn't stand the silence. So making sure that you wait and that you don't jump ahead is critically important. And the other thing is that the instructor needs to be the focus. Now, yes, the material is important, but the instructor you need to be front and center and not hiding behind things or hiding behind the words. And I know some people are shy, and I know that it's difficult, but it's really, really important to try to maintain focus. And above all, tell a story. So if you don't know what your story is, whether that's on biology or chemistry or French or whatever it is, if you don't know what your story is, there's no way the students are going to know what the story is. So you have to know what your story is and be able to tell it. One thing I will draw your attention to, this will come back later, this is a little Easter egg. Notice up here I have back to the last slide viewed. We're not using that right now, but just so you note that on this major point that I have made extra large, I have this link up here. I wonder what that's about. Oh well, maybe we'll find out later. So we have tell a story. Some slide design tips. As you're building your presentation, try if at all possible to have one message per slide. If you do have, is it not working?
No, I'm sorry. It's okay, keep going.
if you have more than one message, then what you should do is you should divide it off into separate slides. That's just the way it should go. What your goal should be on your presentation is minimum text length. You see here, 1, 2, 3 words, 1, 2, 3, 4 words. There are times that if you have a quote, obviously you want to put the whole quote up there, so there's going to be times where you want to have something larger. But what your goal should be as you're designing your slide, it should not be there to it should be there to remind you what to say, but it should not say what you say. In other words, use this as a reminder of what you're about to talk about, but don't put your ramblings on the slide. This is what I see all the time. Like they have these great, like Mercy, the presentations we'll see, even at Acadia, blah, 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 we're this unit, or we do this, blah, 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 like paragraphs. Like really? Give me as short as you can make it. That's critical. And make your main point the largest size. What's the largest text I have already had? Tell a story, right? I made that the largest text right there on the screen. That will help students remember that particular point. Highlight where you want the focus to be. I don't know if you can pick it up here because of this projector, but this is actually going slightly gray or slightly darker as I go to the main point. You would think that wouldn't be that big a deal, but it actually is. If you bring your text on and it's slightly brighter and then you dim it as you move from point to point, it actually will make a difference. It actually makes it easier for the students to follow. And you might say, well, wait a minute, aren't they automatically going to know that it's the last line? Yeah, but their eyes are going to be drawn to the line that's the brightest. And if their eyes are drawn to this line that's the brightest, they've just gone to the right place and they're able to see what you want them to see. Another thing is use dark backgrounds. Now that's not always possible, depending on the content that you have. You might have a lot of graphs or a lot of images with white in them. So there's times where you kind of have to go with the lighter backgrounds. But when all possible, if you're doing a presentation like this, you want to make sure that you have a darker, it doesn't have to be black, but a very dark blue, very dark whatever is better. On your screen, on your office or wherever, knock yourself out, do whatever you want. But when you're presenting, dark backgrounds are very important. Yes?
Can I ask the reason?
Well, yes, I'm going to show you the reason here in just a second. Yes, yeah, you'll see the difference.
Okay.
And the last one I'll say is try and stay below 6 objects. If you put more than that on a slide, it just starts to get muddled. So in this case here, I've basically got the maximum. I've got 6 points on that slide, which you don't really want to go above that because the brain really can't handle much more than that. 5 or 6 is about all we can keep in the frontal cortex there and actually maintain it. So 6 slides is about your max. Here's an example of why and this isn't a lot more words. It really isn't. I did say before eye contact is important, and then this is kind of a reminder of what I was going to say. This helps you make a connection to your audience. But I don't necessarily need that up here. And so what we have is we've got a lot more text. It's a lot harder to focus on. And a bunch of these things are things I should be saying, but shouldn't be up here. I have often failed to do this, but it can really make a big difference. No. That should have been, I should be saying that. It shouldn't be up here. Try and stay below 6 objects because the brain has a hard time remembering more than this at one time. Well, I told you that. I said the brain has a trouble with more than 6, but don't have it up here. Use this first part as a reminder of what it is that you're going to say to the students. Now, is there times you really need to have something up there that you show them? Yes, but you always need to be thinking that because just the difference here between that, how are we feeling here? And how are we feeling there? Overwhelmed, right? It's almost like, and that, compared to some slides that I've seen, all that text is readable and large enough, and consistent, and well-spaced, and yet it's still a little bit much. Now, in relation to what I said before, 1 message per slide, maximum like, this is exactly the same thing before. Why is it that it's probably not a good idea have a light background. There's a couple reasons. One is when you have a white background, it actually becomes the focus. It's trying to pull away from the instructor. So instead of you looking at me, there's this big white thing over here that we tend to be drawn to. So this is competing with the message I'm trying to tell you. The other thing, which you probably just saw, is you get blinded, and this is just a puppet show. I mean, what is this? Look, it's not good, right? I mean, you could, yeah, sure, right? This is not good. Compare this to, and it's the same points, right? It's the same points. Compare that to where we were before. Compare that to that. Even when I come in front, there's a little bit of shadows or whatever. I shouldn't be there, but it's not the same. So, if possible, it's not always possible, as I said, but if possible, the dark background for doing a presentation is your friend. Okay? I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. I know there's times I get on some slides, and I've had some presentations where I've started to work with the graphs, and I'm like, every single graph is a white background, and I'd be on slide 3, and I'd be like, nope, we're going with a white back or a lighter background. Like, that's just what we're going to do, because I can't spend the time to try to fix this. We're going light. Okay, yeah, that's that one. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take you through dealing with some text. You can do the same if you want, although if you want to save your battery for later, if there's some other parts, animations or games or whatever you want to.
It's done. There's no battery.
Oh, never mind. Okay. So I want to take a look at this one again with the white background. I've got some text here, and there's a whole lot of things that are wrong with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through the process of fixing it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take this text, and I'm going to make the text white. And then I'm going to right-click on the background here. So right-click here, and I'm going to make the background black. Always change your text color. Always change your text color before you change the background color, because it'll just disappear. So change the text color, the background. I did this on this slide to be consistent. It's probably better to set things up on the master slide and then have that sort of propagate all the way through. So if you're starting from scratch, I'd probably set everything up the way I want on the master slide. But if you're part way through, unfortunately, it just becomes more of a problem to fix stuff. So then I would do what I'm doing now, which is just deal with it directly. So we have this text here. What I want to do, we did the dark background. We got a couple other things we want to change here. I want to change the paragraph settings. So we want to change the paragraph settings because it's all currently set to multiple at 0.5. I would never recommend that. That's too small. 1's okay. I often like to give us a little bit more. 1.1. I like that. So that's the space between the paragraphs. I'm going to say okay to that. So that spaces that out a little bit. Then I'm going to also change the text because I can't see it. So I'm going to go with my font. And what do we currently have? We have 11. I would typically recommend at least 18. I try to have at least 18 size font when I'm doing presentations, although in this case even that's a little bit small. I think that will look not too bad if I present that. Yeah, I try to have at least that amount. Now, I might go larger. It just depends on how much I have going on there. One of the things that's a problem with this is, despite the fact that I increased the line spacing, I didn't increase the space between the paragraphs, so it kind of all runs together. So in addition to changing the line space, I should also do the paragraph settings. So there's that space there, but the space before, I would choose either one or the other, either do them all before or all after. In this case, I'll do it before. Let me change this to, I'll have to go 12 for now, see what that looks like. Okay, that's starting to look a little bit better. So again, spaces between the paragraph, larger text, white text, dark background, my size and my spacing between my lines. I may or may not go larger between my lines of text or not. It all depends on what I want to do. You're all familiar with all of that? Is that all that makes complete sense? Okay. All right. Let's talk about some shortcut keys. As we're presenting, what do we have? Well, we've got the arrow keys that allow us to go back and forth between the slides in our presentation, which our arrow keys are absolutely wonderful. Most people do know about those. But in addition to our arrow keys, we also have the blank key, and this can be really, really valuable. Just hit the B, you're done, because there's going to be times, remember, we want the focus to be here. We're talking about something, I want to have a conversation. As long as there's something up on the slide, that is competing with me. The instant I take it away, you're like, oh, right here, okay. Then at any point in time, I can just go B and bring it back. So that is just a really, I did this presentation a little while ago, and somebody who's been here for years went, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I'm like, yes, very helpful. So use the B to blank. What else we got? Control and mouse key for pointers. So if I hold the control key down, then I can change this, so I could highlight a particular point and say, okay, watch out for the mouse, it's going to get you. Or watch out for the pointer, whatever. If I also do the control and a P, then I can do the pen, and I can highlight and draw over a particular area like so. And then control and P again, and it takes that off. So there's a bunch of other stuff you can do, but those are the ones to me, using the arrow keys, do the B to blank, control and the mouse for a specific pointer if you just want to point something out, and control and P for the pen to draw on the screen, and it will ask if you want to keep that when you exit the presentation. All right, flexibility. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about here was, often when we do PowerPoint presentations, it's very sequential. We're doing sequential down the slide to slide, slide to slide. And how do we sort of have it set up so that we can move away from that? Well, one of the things we can do is we can use hidden slides to create additional flexibility. In other words, we can put a hidden slide in that we may or may not go to, because we know when we're talking about the subject that, am I going to get to that? Are the students going to need that? And usually when you're teaching, you get to a certain point like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. Or you're like, ooh, boy, I really do need to cover that again. Boy, wouldn't it be helpful if I had some additional information at this point I could just go to like that? That would be great. But most of the ways we do PowerPoints, it's straight through. So in this case here, we can put optional material on hidden slides, and then we can access those slides with hyperlinks, which we can choose to go to or not, depending on where we're at with our presentation. So in this case, this is a slide. On the very next slide is a hidden slide, and the slide after that is well, it's this slide. So if I click to go forward, I can't see the hidden slide. There's the first slide, there's another slide after it that's hidden, and then this visible slide is the next slide after that. But if I want to, in the moment, go to that slide, I can click on the hyperlink, and it actually drops me down into the slide. There's a little image on it, and it only displays if I clicked on the link. So it's providing flexibility for that moment, like, okay, right? Or you can even do this with references, right? Like if you're doing a presentation, you get a bunch of references, like, well, am I going to tell them about it or not? Oh, put a link. Next thing you know, what's the references? Boom, right there. And it just makes things a whole lot better. The other thing that's kind of cool is now that I've unhidden it, if I go to my next slide, and I go back, it still stays there. So once you've unhidden it, it's sort of part of the presentation until you, I think, go up this way. Yeah, and then you come back, and then now it's there if you go back, but not there if you go forward, which I think is kind of cool. Let me show you how I did that here. I've got a visible slide and a hidden slide. Let me just show you how easy this is. Here, it wants to know if I want to keep the things. I'm going to discard those. So we'll just look at how easy this is. All I want to do is I want to make this slide hidden. So I'm going to hide the slide. So that's the hidden slide. And then up here, I want to create a link to that slide. And I'm going to put some text in here. Link to hidden slide. I'm going to hide that like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the, where is it? Insert link. I'm doing this one. Insert link, but I want to go to a place in this document, and I want to go to the slide that's this one. That's the one. That's the one I just did. Okay. What happens when I run the presentation? Where's my presentation? Oops, no. Slideshow. Yeah. From current slide. So there you can see there's my hidden slide, there's the slide there. I'm going to do from current slide, and as long as I don't click on the link, you won't see the hidden slide. If I do click on the link, the hidden slide comes up just like that. Cool? Clear? You want me to go faster or slower? We're good? Perfect? Okay, great. So let's keep going. That gives us some flexibility. But sometimes when you're teaching, you're going to have sort of a main concept. It's the main thing for the lesson or whatever. You have a main concept you're trying to get across to the students. And what typically happens in the past is, well, you'd have that concept at the beginning, and then you'd be going through the presentation, you say, okay, well, remember what we did before, and then, you know, some people would just go back, and flash the slides, and some people would be smart enough to go, okay, it's over, okay, here, and they find it, and then okay, and then they go, okay, now where was I? I think I was here. Like, it's that whole process. To make it seamless, we can set up a link, not just to a hidden slide, but to any slide in the presentation that we can go to. So I have this link up here, back to the key point. I could put this on a master slide so I could have access to it on every slide of my presentation. I could put this only on certain slides. I could have multiple key points all put at the back of my presentation that aren't necessarily even going to show up unless I decide I want them to show up, whatever. So I have all kinds of flexibility as opposed to the sequential, you know, one slide after another. So what does this key point do? It takes us way back to the beginning when I talked about the fact that as presenters we have to tell a story. So that's jumped up, I don't know, 8 or 9 slides at least. And then there's this option here, back to last slide viewed. Love this, because what this is it basically says, well, where did you come from? Wherever you came from, that's where I'm going to send you back to. So when I go back, it takes me right back to this slide. So you have the ability to jump over here, look at a main point, or look at some content, jump back, keep on talking, go down a few more slides. Oh, let's look at that again, right? Okay, good, we're back. It gives you that flexibility as opposed to the sequential. And again, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, you know, there's times where this just doesn't work. You need to be able to go, let's look at this. Okay, let's not. Let's go back. Let's not. Whatever. So that's what that will allow you to do. However, this is done a little differently. Yeah, so you use the action link to go back temporarily to an important slide or forward. It doesn't have to be back. So let's say I have some important information here on a slide. That's why it says important information. And then on this slide here is a slide later in the presentation or whatever that I want to jump to this one. So if I go here, and again, I would probably do a separate box for this. I wouldn't be doing it in the main area, but whatever. You put it where you want. Jump to important info. And then I'm going to highlight that. But instead of doing the insert and doing the link, I'm going to do the action, because the action ones are going to allow me, when I do this in the next slide, to jump back, which I can't do with a regular link. Most of the time I would use a regular link, but in this case I want to use an action. And the action is going to be hyperlink to, and then I want to go to a specific slide, and the slide I want to go to is important information, and say OK. But up on the important information, OK, say OK. Up in the important information one, and again, I would probably do a text box or something different here, or an image or whatever. You can make it sort of almost fade in so students wouldn't even see it. It would just be slightly gray just to remind you, but they wouldn't necessarily know it was there. So it's like magic. In this case, I'm going to go back to the slide you came from. So again, same kind of thing, highlighting the text, doing the action link, hyperlink, but one of the options here is last slide viewed. So last slide viewed is going to let me tell it to jump back to the last slide viewed. Okay. So if I go to important information and I run the presentation from the current slide, so if I go to that slide, and there could have been many slides in between, doesn't matter. I jump to the important information, which in this case just jumps me back one slide, but it could be anywhere. But in this case, wherever I came from is where I will go back to. Well, in this case, it's the previous slide, but wherever you were, it'll go back to that slide. And that's how you could have that whole thing set up. All right, let's look at objects real quick. So we've got pictures, graphics, and text. Everything put on a slide is an object. So let's say we put some things on an object. We can layer them and we can group them. So let me see. I'm going to come down here to here. I'll just do it on the slide. So if anything I put in here, if I insert some text, if I insert, let's just do some shapes just for the fun of it. So I'm just going to do a shape in here. Every shape that I put in, every picture that I put in is going to be its own object, and every object gets put on the layer. The last thing down is like it's on the top, so it's always layering it like this. So if I put that in, and then I insert another shape, and we'll do a circle this time. Okay, so the circle, because it's the last thing down. Again, same with pictures, same with text. It's all layered, layered, layered. If I want the circle to be behind, then I could just right-click and I say, okay, please send this to the back. So I want to go to bring to back, send to back, send backward, or send to the very back. So now the square is in front. I think you understand how that will work. If you want to put a bunch of things together, then we could highlight a whole area, and we could right click and we say, well, please just group all the objects, and that could be text, pictures, animations, or animated GIFs. It could be all kinds of stuff, doesn't really matter. I want to group that all together, and now this is one group that acts like a group, can rotate, stretch, whatever you want to do. So I'm doing this relatively quickly because I think you guys kind of understand all that, but for some people, this whole concept of layers and grouping and how that thing works is a little confusing. However, what this then leads us to is another way, in addition to being able to jump and not just be sequential, and that's to use animation. And I really like manual animation. Now, the other animation, the regular animation, works well, but I just see there's so many simple uses for this. So I'm just going to show you a manual animation that I created. So let me go slideshow from the current slide. I don't remember if I did this in the movie or not. So from this one, we have a planet. And the thing that's nice about manual animation is you can put text, you can put images, you can group stuff together, you can have all kinds of things, you can break things apart, you can resize things, you can move things. This one's mostly going to be movement, but resize, make them larger, make them smaller, you can move things all over. Is it what's your engineering? I mean, oh my soul, just all sorts of stuff. Do you do this already? Do you already do this kind of thing, or manual animations with the PowerPoint, or no?
No.
No, okay.
I use the animation plane, but that's just to like bring things in.
Right. And we're going to look at that. But for something, I'm just saying, I would get really excited because it just opens up. Like I'll move this. This is going to be bigger. And it's so simple. So I did this 5 minutes, maybe. No, probably not 5 minutes. Probably 3 minutes. It's really fast. And it gets the point across. We've got a planet. We're going to the planet. We're going to the planet in a spacecraft. And as I click through the slides, you'll notice that I resized the rocket ship and made it smaller. So I have it moving. I have it changing shape. I could have it spinning. I could have flames coming out the back. I could do all kinds of stuff. But in this case, watch as the rocket ship moves, but also gets smaller. And that's just going slide to slide to slide. Everything's looking good. I think we're going to make it, except we might have a slight problem. Oh no, boom, that's not good. Well, that did not end well. So there you go. So very quickly, slide to slide. And if you're doing it with in biology, or I'm trying to think of what you could do with the French thing. I'm not sure what you could do with the French, but the engineering, whoa, it's off the charts. But you can go back and forth, and so you could literally, okay, let's think about, why would that be traveling there? What's going on? How does this work? And so just the arrow keys back and forth, showing the control. Again, it's about the control, because we'll see the regular animations in a minute, which are wonderful. There's some really cool stuff you can do, but once you start it, it's like, okay, click, click, click. It's going to do what it's going to do. This back and forth. Let's see how this actually works, and you can put that together so easily. It's amazing. In fact, let's do it. Let's do it. So let's say that we wanted to do a slide where we have I want to make it really easy on myself. I'm gonna have something rolling down a hill. I'm trying to think here. What am I going to have? I'm going to have something really easy. I just want to show, I'm going to have 2 balls hit and then go off. That's a physics thing, but whatever. So just how simple could it be? And actually, I'm going to do it so that the balls are going away from me and going into the distance. So that's just a little extra whatever. So how quickly can we do this? All we've got to do is go insert, and again, this could be anything. We're going to insert some shapes here. Hold the shift key down to get a perfect circle, and then copy that because I want them to be the same size. I got 2 circles, make them a little, so we're actually going to take the circles here, and then I could add things. I could put text on them. I could make them a group, so it had, I could make this really complicated, which I'm not. And then all you do, you just take that and you duplicate slide. And then this is the next slide in the presentation. So this, whoops, don't move that, move this. So this is going like this is going like this, but I'm going to resize them. So they're actually getting smaller as they go together. Then all I do is duplicate slide. Look how easy this is. Move them again. You get good at moving them after a while. Move them, resize them, rotate them. Again, they're getting smaller.
I think they're just going to stick together in the end. And duplicate slide. Boom, one more. This is just the best. And of course I would spend more time. This is not. Okay, one more. And duplicate slide. And they're going to bounce. Whoops. Bounce off. Boom.
How that, okay. I do path because it's easy. Anything. Something moving in, something rotates around, something does whatever. The French word comes in over here. Oh, look, it fits in this sentence over here. Like, look how that, boop, 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 boop. And you might think, that's silly. Like, I mean, but it's not. There's something about the human brain that goes, ooh, what's going to happen? Ooh, where's it going to go? And it's like, and when you have the control with the students, then you can actually make it happen at the right time, as opposed to kind of the other thing can be out of sync. Let's actually see how it plays. It would be pretty basic. But you can see what we did there. So I'm going to go slideshow from current slide. And all this arrow, boom, 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 boom. Right? How long did it take? And if I wanted more steps, I just go and copy one of those slides, insert more. If I want, when it gets to here, to be a little explosion or something happens, I just add it in. I'm just working with the individual frames. But very quickly, processes, animation, whatever, can work. Cool? I like that one. Okay, what else we got? Well, now we do have the one that you've worked with before, which is a PowerPoint animation. And so PowerPoint animation allows us to do path animation, to go on a specific path, not unlike what I just kind of did there. Entrance animation to have stuff come on, exit to take it off, emphasis to emphasize it while it's on there, and then timing and triggers that we're going to spend a little more time on because those can be really powerful as you're actually doing your presentation. Okay. So I'm actually going to do another path animation simply because it's easy, but I'm going to make it a little more complicated. So I'm going to use the regular animation functions of PowerPoint, but then I'm going to layer, I'm going to have the duck. I've decided I want the duck to not only try to get away from the eagle that's coming after it, but also it's in such a hurry that it tumbles and falls over itself. So it's going to be moving away and tumbling while the eagle is coming after it. So, and again, this doesn't have to follow a path necessarily. You can do other things, but this is a basic one. So bringing stuff in, we understand that, but paths are kind of cool on what you can do. So let's actually look at how this would work. So what I want to do is, first of all, I'm going to move the eagle to where the starting position. So we'll put the eagle up here. We'll move the duck over here a little bit. And then we'll start with the eagle. And I want to then do an animation. I almost always do an animation pane. Put that up here so I can see what's actually happening. Let's reduce the size of that to see things better. And then what I want to do is I want to come here, and there's an option to somewhere. There. I like custom paths. So there's all these things you potentially can do, but the one that I've always found the most useful is just to do a custom path to move things where I want them to be. So in this case, I'm doing a custom path, and then I'm going to click, drag down. He's going after the duck. Oh, and then he has to swoop away, and then double click to finish. So then we have the lovely eagle trying to catch the duck. Now the duck realizes the danger, so let's go to the duck here. Again, I could be doing any of them, but I'm going to be doing I could add an animation there. I'm going to add an animation here. It's the same thing. Again, a custom path. So the duck's going to go, oh no, and he tries to run away, and double click. So it's trying to run away. Okay, but in addition to him running away, I want to layer other animations on top of that, and I want to have him tumble over as he's trying to get away. So to do that, what you have to do is you can't do it up through this. This is very strange. You can't do it through the option here to add the animation there. You have to do it here to add additional animation in. It's kind of weird. Like you'd think that if you just do a spin here, it would be fine. But if you put a spin on at this point, it wipes out the path animation. So what you literally do is you can't use this if you're going to layer animations happening. I don't know why, just it is what it is. So what I have to do is have it selected, but not use this spin. I have to go add animation and add spin here. It's the same spin, but it will not like it if I do it up above. And you can see here now, I've got the first graphic, which is 5 here, and then I've got 3 and 3. Now let's take a look at what these are doing. So we'll make this a little bigger, and this is what's nice about this. If you get something complicated and it's just going to be too much to do manual, what do we have? We have this starting on click. So we look at this. The effect options are timing is on click, which is fine because I want to be able to control when the animation starts, because again, that control thing, this is when we're going to do it. Then this one though, I want, as soon as the eagle starts, I want the duck to start running. So this needs to start with the previous event. So I just changed that to with previous. And this also needs to start with the previous event because I want both those things to happen at the same time. Let's see how I did. Let's go back here. Play from. Okay. Room for improvement, but you get the idea. The duck starts, the eagle's coming, and again, you can change all of those things, and you have a lot of the power. What's really nice is with this pane here, if we play it again, like the duck moves too fast, just too soon. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll simply move the movement here, and I'm actually going to delay when he starts to tumble, but increase the amount of time he tumbles, so he's going to kind of tumble at the end. And then let's sort of see, oops, no, stop that. Stop, play from the beginning. I have to click to the beginning. Okay, obviously did not start soon enough, but again, what you see here, this can get very interesting. You can have a lot of things come in, stuff come on the slide. It can be very, very, very good, especially for certain processes and so on. And it gives you a lot of power for how long things are up there, when they start, but it can be tricky. So I would always ask myself the question of, okay, how much time do you want to spend? Because this will suck you in. This will suck you in. So for some of these things, you could spend hours and hours, and it wouldn't be quite right. You'd be working at it. Or you could, depending on what it is, you could do a manual animation, and maybe you're done in like 10 minutes. Because you can relatively quickly, depending on what it is. So there's certain things about this that are good. So let's actually look at some of those. When would it be cool to use a regular animator? I mean, this is cool and this works. Let's go back to our presentation. Any questions so far? Are we good? Do you want to try that one? Do you want to try any of the ones? Oh, you can. Right.
I can.
What we're going to do is I'll get you to try it when we're done here, maybe in the end. I mean, just because so I can help you at that point. It's just not. It's just not gonna work. That's cool. So let's look at a few more cool things. So let's go to this one, and we'll do slideshow from the current slide. So there's the path animation. Oops. Oh, poor little. Actually, it looks like the duck got hit in the head there, didn't it? Oh, yeah, that's not bad. I like that. Oh, that poor little duck. At least he missed. What do I have here? What I have here, again, is taking control doing a presentation. I've got a basic graph that I want to show. This could be text. It could be all kinds of stuff, but in this case, it's a graph. But I wanted to reveal the graph, and I wanted to show how the line changes over time. Typically, what we would do is put a graph up and then reveal or show or whatever. But what I've done here is I put in a rounded rounded rectangle with the word show on it, which is my trigger. So I'm using this as a trigger to take a black square or black rectangle, and I'm revealing from the left-hand side. So this is a trigger now, so that when I want to see the graph, I can display the graph and have it sort of move like an animation without doing anything complicated other than having a trigger button and having a regular a black box just sort of disappear. And the power of it is when I want it and when the students need to see it, boom, there's our line, zoop, there we go, just like that. And you're like, wow, that's so really cool. How did you do that line animation? Just revealed it, that's all. And did it based off of a trigger. There's lots of different ways to do this. Here's another one. I did this like 20 years ago. Somebody made a comment. Somebody's having trouble understanding about gears. I'm like, well, I wonder if I could create a animation that would show that. Again, it's the same thing based off a trigger, which I call in this case start spin. These are just a circle with some other objects and just all grouped together. And I just made one of them red, the one on the top. And that's basically all grouped together, just slightly different size. And then I set this as a trigger, so that this would rotate one way, that would rotate the other. When I click Start Spin, we can see that the small cog goes around twice for every time that the large cog goes around, because it has half as many teeth. So it's a pretty basic thing, but it was a question somebody had. They were like, well, how does that work? And I'm like, it seems reasonable to me. I understood it, but let me see if I can create something that will actually demonstrate that, the gear ratio effect. And again, you have control. Like with regular animation, it happens, it's done. Ah, I can run it as many times as I want. You want to see it again? Let's look at it again. And the other thing that's nice about this one too is that actually that slowing down process and speeding up process is all built in. So it's just, I just said, oh, please do that. Here's another one. This one is also very interesting and very easy to use. Did you learn anything today? Let's say there's a point where you're not sure which direction you want to go. Maybe we'll cover this content or something else. How can we set it up so that we're not just following the PowerPoint? That we want to say, well, maybe I'll show them this or maybe I won't. Well, we could use the hidden slide trick that I showed you. We could use the other link thing. Or simply put something on the slide that covers up something below it. And then make it the trigger so that when you click on it, it disappears. So that you see what's underneath it. And then you can have an interaction with your students. Wow, did you learn anything today? No, I knew everything. Yes, I did. Well, maybe. Well, what if we click maybe? It's completely up to us, right? What do you want to choose? Maybe. Click on it. Don't quit. So basically, that's the trigger. And you see how, like, there's something about, oh, there it is. And then there's the curiosity. What's under the other ones? Right? Like, you know, like you're wondering, aren't you? Like you also can't help yourself. Like, well, if you said don't quit, what do you say there? No? Sad. Right? Now, this is just a tiny little box, but you can have a large area. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Gonna help or hinder?
You are always welcome, sir. Do you have your laptop?
I do.
Well, if you sat over here, then you guys could work together because he's out of power. Not yet, but in a minute or two, once you're set up.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing that's cool about this is if we go to the next slide and go back, the things remain. But just like before with the hidden slide thing, if you go there and then go that way, they start again. So it's a reset. So it's like just using the arrows in a way like, oh, so now if I go back, it's all reset. So you could, again, these are relatively small, but you can imagine I'm either going to talk about this or this or this, but I don't know which one, which way am I going? Regular PowerPoint, not really control. You're doing point after point, that's just all going to show up. Here, you have interaction, you have control. So let's look at how I would do that. How do you animate on a trigger? So I've got a frog and I want to make it jump. So I'm going to add in it doesn't really matter what you add in. I'm going to insert I'll do a shape. I'll do a rounded rectangle just for the fun of it. And the rounded rectangle is going to say go. Okay, that's going to be my trigger. And this is going to be the animation. So I'm going to click on the frog. And I'm going to do animation, add animation. I just wanted to jump, so bring it in. Motion pass. That's weird. Oh, what's this one?
Oh, no, my computer died, so you'll just...
Okay, what about bounce? Nope, don't like bounce. Delete. Let's try that again. I might wind up just doing custom. Add animation. Oh, well, I did bounce. Okay, so again, I'm going to go with custom just for the fun of it. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to jump up, down, double click. Yeah, but that's just a regular custom line animation, but it's set to go, I don't know if it's set to go automatically or probably on click. Yeah, on click. But I don't want to do it on click. I want to set the timing, and I want to set the trigger, and I want it to start on clicking the rectangle with the rounded corners and say OK. So now, when I do that slideshow, and I click somewhere else, it doesn't do anything, right? It's not part of the thing, unless and until I click on the trigger. And the trigger is controlling what happens on the screen. So triggers are really, really, I think a lot of people will look at the animations and not like, oh, okay, well, what really makes them powerful, again, is that control of like, okay, now I want this to happen. Now I want this to show up. Here's another one, and this is how you can start to make games. So we're going to transition to games here. Here's the game. The game is, and what I've done is I've put a whole bunch of these squares in. The difference between this one and the frog one is these squares are set up to automatically hide if you click on them. So it's like a tile game. So all of a sudden, I can really, really quickly, in fact, I did this one so quickly you can sort of see that I didn't even care whether things were lined up. I just went boom, 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 put them in real fast. Covered up a picture. So I put a picture on the slide, layered all these on top. Every one of them is set to be a trigger for itself. And now we have a game. What is it? Do you know? Let me help you out. Do you know now? The craziness about the human brain. You did not want to know what this was before. But as it goes on and you start to quiz the students and you start to look at the thing, there's something in our brains that goes, what is it? What's going on? What is this creature? And eventually, what is it? Do we know?
Fish.
It's a fish. It's a lobster. Right? Now, I want you to pay attention to the feeling of, yes, I got it. Right? It's arbitrary. It's a lobster. Who could care less? It's an image I went on the internet, I brought it in, I went, I'm throwing the lobster up. How quickly I could create this, I don't actually like the blue color, I think I go black, but whatever. How quickly I could create this is insane how fast that can be, right? Here, in fact, once I've got it created once, just for the fun of it, let me duplicate this slide. Let me just show you. Because these are all set up as rectangles with the trigger for themselves, but I could send this one to the back. Send it back. That would then allow me to select this and delete it. That would then allow me to go and get an image such as this Texas Longhorn here. So I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to go insert picture from this device. I want the Texas Longhorn. Where are you, Texas Longhorn? I don't have to have Texas Longhorn, but I want it. Desktop, there it is. Texas Longhorn is here. Put it in, resize, boom. Then the secret, just send it to the back. Done. Done. Now I have a game. So now I do this slideshow from current slide. Let's figure out what this is. What is it? Do we know what it is? Nobody needs to know. Come on. Come on. Okay, now this team, you get a guess. Not sure. Okay, now it's your turn. Your guess. Divide them off, right? Split them down the middle. Whatever you got to take. Still don't know. Your turn. Okay, now you. Texas Longhorn, yes! How long did that take me to create that? How much fun could that be? Could be a lot of fun. Because Texas Longhorns, just in case you're wondering, are really cool. Because the only reason they have horns that big, you probably know, the only reason they have horns that big is when they got away from the Spanish, they had to defend for themselves. And so the way that they defended for themselves was growing massively large horns. And that's why the horns are there. Not because breeders went like, ooh, cool, long horns. Because that helps take care of you with regards to wildcats and other bad animals that are out there. So there you go. Anyway, good fun. And then the last one, before we play a little bit more, is the Jeopardy game. And I think for the French that this would be really interesting to do. It takes time to set up. I would not do this all the time, but if there's some point in a term where you're like, oh, I would really like to, I want to cover some of the material, we can make this a little more fun, we can make it a Jeopardy game. So this game you can use as a template and then just fill all the things out. So actually I have to run this, don't I? Slideshow from current slide. Jeopardy game. I don't have no idea how we're doing for our, there we go. This is EV Jeopardy, but it could be French Jeopardy, it could be physics Jeopardy, it doesn't matter. What's our time? What are we doing here?
11 o'clock.
It's what?
11.
Oh, we're great. Okay, perfect. So here we got EV Jeopardy. So this is just about EVs, about electric vehicles. I've set this up so now, instead of player A, player B, Chris, right on the slide, right while I'm doing a presentation. And there's something about having your name up there, or the group's name up there. Right? You're all at 0. Okay. So all I got to do now, I've got this set to automatically, it's a trigger. It's a trigger that's actually set to go automatically. I don't even have to click anything. So you can do triggers that way as opposed to setting them to click. So I just go over that and it automatically takes me to the game board. Are we ready to play? Yes, we are. All right, Chris is going to be up first. Chris, what do you want? Safety, range, upkeep, cost, or performance?
Range for 10.
Going range for 10. Excellent. Range for 10. All right, range for 10. Total number of fill-up locations for electric cars is more or less than for gas cars. Like where you can get fuel for electric cars, more or less.
Am I allowed to ask questions?
Yeah. Depends on how we're going to play the game. Now, how do you feel? How do you feel about him getting the hint? Not so good.
Does that include your house?
Yes. Anywhere you can fill up. I didn't say how fast. I just said whether you can fill up or not. More. Answer is significantly more, because anywhere there's electricity you can charge. Chris, and what's cool about this? Put the grade. I would go and put a grade in, and the other team would start to freak out, like, oh, you can't get them full points for that or whatever. Again, put the value in. Go over there. Chris, give me another one, but give me a tough one you're not going to get. What do you want?
Safety 25.
Safety for 25. Going big. Go big or go home. Name 3 reasons gas fuel is significantly more dangerous than batteries.
Where's the explosive?
Explosive?
Pollution.
Pollution?
I don't know.
Obtaining it?
Part of that.
Fire, fumes, and carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide was probably a big one to think about. Fumes, I would say, with fire, the fumes will kill you, and carbon monoxide poisoning. Sorry, Chris, can't give you the points. Leah, it's your turn. Back. There we go. Here we go. What do you want?
Performance 15.
Performance for 15. She's going all out. What is the one thing about electric cars that everyone raves about? There's one thing everybody says, oh, that's so cool.
Because it's ecologic first.
You'd think. There's something else.
Oh, the noise. It doesn't make noise.
That's true too. Am I leading the witness? How are we feeling about it? You should not, right? Like there's something weird about competition. I'll give you a hint, and I wouldn't necessarily go this far with the class. Woo! It's about the
fluidity.
the what? Okay. It's about the instant torque. It's acceleration. I would have taken acceleration. It's that boom, you're gone. Sorry, no points. Can't give you points for that.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay, we're gonna go over here. What do you want?
Cost for 5.
Cost? Not feeling very confident, gotta say. Cost for 5. Are electric cars better for the environment?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yes, okay, you're gonna get a point. 5, back, another one, give me one more.
Okay. Upkeep for 10.
Upkeep for 10. Why will brakes wear out slower on an electric car?
They use their motors for braking, so it's regenerative braking.
Oh, did I even use the word? We have to regenerate power to the battery. We have a winner. What did you have there? That was a 10? That was a 10. Yeah, so the thing's at the top. It looks like Scott wins. Sorry, everybody else. Thank you for playing our game. Anyway, you can see relatively quickly that could be fun. Again, a fair bit of work to set this up, but it's not horrific because this actually is just a matter of save changes. No. This is just a matter of the Jeopardy game of actually going in and modifying all the areas. So in other words, the things you change obviously would be the title at the beginning, so it would be whatever subject you're doing. This you leave all alone, and then for each of the questions, there's a slide for the question, and then there's a slide immediately following it for the answer. And it's just a matter of change the text here for the question, change the text here for the answer, rinse and repeat. So a bit more work, but fun in the right situation when you want to just, because you can see like that was fun, that was cool. I think maybe you hate it, but whatever. Okay, I think that's pretty well it. So I think now would be a good time to practice those things. I would recommend the trigger to try that if you want to try one of the animation things. If you do want the Jeopardy one, we will make that available to you as well. But if you want to right now give some of the things I talked about a go, or if you have some other questions, that'd be great. And if you wanted to try something out with Chris there, that would be fantastic.